Hello, and welcome to the Sleepy Survival Stories channel. Far above the towns and tangled roads there is another realm, a world of ice and sky where the air is thin and the stars feel close enough to touch. In that realm stand 14 vast sentinels, the 8,000-meter giants. Some are quiet, some are cruel, some are deceptively gentle. Among them, K2 rises like a dark prayer, sharp and solemn, keeping its own terrible, beautiful secrets. Tonight, we will not come to these mountains as conquerors. We will not measure routes or count deaths or chase numbers in the thin air. Instead, we will float softly above them, as if carried by a slow, dreaming wind. We will listen to their stories the way you might listen to the ocean at night, not to be thrilled, but to be soothed by the steady rhythm of something older and larger than yourself. Imagine yourself wrapped in your blankets like a warm sleeping bag, tucked safely inside a tent of light. Outside, snowflakes drift in slow spirals under a sky full of cold stars. Inside, there is only soft breathing, the steady quiet of your own heart, and the gentle murmur of a voice telling you of high places and fragile courage. We will visit Cho-O-Yu, broad and forgiving. We will pass by Lotz's steep, guarded slopes, touch Everest's crowded, dreaming summit in our imagination, and then drift into the wild silence of the Karakoram, where Gasherbrum, Broad Peak, and finally K2 stand watch. Each mountain will offer not danger, but reflection, a reminder of endurance, of humility, of how small and precious each human life is against the endless sky. As you listen, let your thoughts grow slower and softer, like snow settling into every crease of a glacier. Let your breath become your rope, your anchor, holding you gently to this moment and nothing else. You're not here to prove anything, not to the mountains, not to the world, not even to yourself. Tonight, we settle over the high world. We travel through the thin air only in spirit, while your body lies safe and still. You are here to rest, to breathe, and to be held in a story larger than yourself. Chapter 1. There are only 14 mountains on Earth that rise beyond 8,000 meters, and each one is both a challenge and a teacher. High above the forests and rivers, they stand like a circle of ancient elders, watching the world in a silence made of ice and thin air. Some of them allow many visitors to touch their crowns. Others take nearly 1 in 3 who try, folding them quietly into snow and legend. People come from every corner of the world, carrying savings, sacrifice, and dreams, paying tens of thousands of dollars just to stand for a moment in the sky. Yet beneath the numbers and risk, each summit whispers the same gentle reminder: life itself is already a fragile, sacred climb. Chapter 2. Cho-O-Yu is often called the kindest of these giants, a broad, serene shoulder of snow that rises about 888 meters between Nepal and Tibet. Compared to other peaks, its fatality rate is low, close to a whisper beside the harsh statistics of its brothers. Around it, winds still bite, temperatures still plunge far below zero, and the air is still so thin that every breath feels borrowed. Yet the slopes are more forgiving, the angle more patient, the route more like a long, quiet hymn than a sudden test. Many choose Cho-O-Yu as their first high altar, paying their $20,000 or $30,000 not just for a summit, but for a lesson in humility, endurance, and gratitude for every breath that returns home. Chapter 3. Beside Everest, like a silent sibling sharing the same icy doorway, rises Lhotse, the 4th highest mountain on Earth, at about 8,516 meters. For a while, climbers bound for both peaks walk the same path, threading their way through the creaking maze of the Khumbu icefall, stepping over ladders that bridge deep blue cracks in the glacier. Then, near the world of the Death Zone, Lotz's own couloir branches away, steep, narrow and unforgiving. Its death rate is still relatively low, near 2%, yet every step demands perfect focus. Here, one slip can undo a lifetime of preparation. Lotzi reminds us that standing next to greatness does not mean being soft. Some of the quietest presences ask the most from our attention and our care. Chapter 4, Everest, at 8,848 metres, is the roof of the world and the most expensive dream in the sky. Permits, guides, oxygen, and logistics can pull the cost towards $70,000 or more, turning the mountain into a distant purchase of hope. Thousands have stood on its summit and hundreds have never come back, leaving a fatality rate near 3% and a trail of stories frozen into the ridges. Yet even here, beyond the crowds, there is something tender. Prayer flags fluttering in thin air, headlamps tracing slow constellations in the dark, hearts beating in chests that ache for oxygen and meaning. Everest whispers that no height, no price, can fill the soul as deeply as a single moment of honest breath, taken with reverence and returned with peace. Chapter 5. Far from the crowded paths of Nepal in the wild stone kingdom of Pakistan's Karakoram, Gasherbrum 2 rises into the thin light, about 8,035 metres high. Some call it the gentlest doorway into the Death Zone, with a fatality rate near 3%, a long but kinder slope of snow and ice. Expeditions here cost less than many other giants, and so it becomes a first great dream for climbers with modest means and deep devotion. Yet even this cheaper summit is paid for with time, cold, and risk. Storms arrive without warning, wrapping tents in white silence for days. As you listen, breathe slowly, and remember, even the easy places of the world can still teach deep reverence for life. Chapter 6. Broad Peak stands nearby, not truly broad in kindness, but in the long stretch of its summit ridge, almost 2 kilometers of exposed, windswept edge. At about 8,051 meters, with a fatality rate around 9%, it is far from gentle. The climb is not always cruel in technique, but it is relentless, a test of endurance rather than flair. After weeks on glaciers, climbers face that endless crest at extreme altitude, where each step feels like it is taken through water made of air and light. Many must turn back, not for lack of courage, but from a quiet wisdom that says, "Today, we stop." Let that same wisdom reach you now. It is holy to continue, and just as holy to rest. Chapter 7. Manaslu, the Mountain of the Spirit, lifts its white flanks into the sky of Nepal, about 8,163 meters above the valleys. Its beauty is soft from afar, a peaceful pyramid of snow, but close up its mood changes. Avalanches roll from hanging seracs without warning, and the mountain holds a fatality rate near 6%. Many come here to train for Everest, thinking they will simply rehearse success. Instead, they often meet their own limits: thin air, trembling legs, the quiet fear of snow that never fully settles. Manaslu reminds us that the spirit is not strengthened by victory alone. It grows when we acknowledge how fragile we are and still choose to breathe gently into the next moment. Chapter 8. Makalu, the Great Black Mountain, stands at about 8,185 meters, steep and angular against the sky. Its faces are sharp, its ridges like the edges of a broken obsidian blade. With a fatality rate around 7%, it is less forgiving, a place where the route feels vertical and the margin for hesitation nearly disappears. Few attempt it each year. Fewer still stand on its summit. For those who do, the world drops away in every direction like a vast frozen sea. For us, listening in the safety of our beds, Makalu offers another kind of summit. It invites us to stand at the edge of our thoughts, look out over the wide landscape of our lives, and quietly decide to be gentle with ourselves as we drift towards sleep. Chapter 9. Shishapangma is the smallest of the Great 14, just over 8,000 meters, tucked quietly into the high plains of Tibet. For many years, it was hidden behind closed borders, a secret giant few outsiders were allowed to touch. Its slopes are smoother than some, its lines less jagged, yet the winds that sweep across its upper faces are fierce and sudden. Only a few hundred climbers have stood on its summit, and many have turned back within sight of the top, wrapped in cloud and drifting snow. Shishapangma feels like a whispered name, a reminder that some sacred places remain partly veiled, inviting not conquest, but humility and deep listening. Chapter 10. Gasherbrum, sometimes called the Hidden Peak, rises in the deep heart of the Karakoram, over 8,080 meters of ice and stone. It is steeper and more demanding than its neighbour Gasherbrum II, its faces carved with ice walls and long crevassed glaciers. Fewer have reached its summit, and each ascent feels like a quiet conversation with something vast and mysterious. Storms move through the range like wandering spirits, erasing tracks and swallowing horizons in white. For those who come here, the true journey is not just upward, it is inward, into the small, steady flame of will and faith that keeps a person moving, one slow breath at a time through the thin, shimmering air. As you listen now, let your own breath become gentle and unhurried. Imagine these distant peaks not as threats, but as silhouettes against a star-filled sky, far from your warm, quiet room. Feel your body settle a little deeper into the bed, like a tent anchored safely on a sheltered ledge. The stories of Cho Oyu, Lhotse, Everest, Manaslu, Makalu, Shishapangma, and the Gasherbrum peaks are great and distant, yet their lessons are close, that life is fragile, that courage can be quiet, that turning back can be as noble as going on. You do not have to make any decisions now. You do not have to climb. Just breathe slowly, like a careful step placed in soft snow, and let the peace of this moment surround you. Chapter 11. Dhaulagiri, the White Mountain, stands above the valleys of Nepal like a vast frozen wave, its ridges shimmering in sun and storm. From afar it looks pure, almost serene, but climbers know its moods can change in an instant. Snowfields that seem still can suddenly move, and weather can descend like a curtain, folding camps into deep, heavy silence. Approaching it requires long journeys through remote valleys, far from roads and crowds, so that every step feels like a pilgrimage into the heart of winter itself. Dhaulagiri teaches that beauty and danger often share the same face, and that the truest wisdom is to move slowly, listen closely, and cherish each safe return to warmth and light. Chapter 12. Kangchenjunga, the Mountain of Five Treasures, rises on the border of Nepal and India like a great layered altar of snow. At about 8,586 meters, it is the third highest mountain on Earth, yet it remains quieter than Everest, more hidden, more reserved. Local legends say it guards gold, grain, gems, and holy texts, but its truest treasure may be reverence. Many climbers still stop just short of the summit, honouring old promises not to disturb its highest point. Its fatality rate is high, and its roots are remote and wild. Kangchenjunga teaches that some things are not meant to be fully taken, only approached with humility, respect, and a willingness to bow before mystery. Chapter 13. Nanga Parbat, the Killer Mountain, rises in Pakistan like a colossal wall of ice and stone, its rupal face dropping nearly 4,000 meters in a single sheer sweep. The numbers around it are stark. Many attempts, many losses, a fatality rate among the highest of all the great peaks. Storms slam into its slopes, avalanches roar down its gullies, and the line between life and death narrows to a trembling step. Yet, for those who gaze upon it, from safe valleys, Nanga Parbat is also strangely beautiful, a reminder that some forces of the world are not meant to be tamed. They simply exist, vast and terrible, inviting us to cherish the gentle places where we lay our heads. Chapter 14. Annapurna, the 10th highest mountain at about 8091 meters, is often called the deadliest of them all. Its south face is a cathedral of broken snow and hanging seracs, where avalanches fall with little warning and tracks can vanish in a heartbeat. A high percentage of those who seek its summit never return, leaving behind stories, families, and silent spaces at dinner tables far away. And yet, the sun still paints its ridges gold at dawn, and prayer flags still flutter at its base. Annapurna is a stark lullaby about risk and desire, about how small we are before nature's power. It invites us from our safe distance to breathe in gratitude for the simple miracle of being alive and warm tonight. Chapter 15. And then there is K2, the dark star of the Karakoram, rising to 8,611 meters above sea level. It is lower than Everest, yet far more feared. Every route is steep, every section exposed, every camp perched on precarious ledges above deep, frozen emptiness. Its fatality rate has long hovered near 1 in 4, a harsh number whispered in base camp tents and remembered by those who come back down. The bottleneck, that narrow passage beneath a hanging glacier, has taken more lives than any other single place in high-altitude climbing. Still, people return, drawn by a dream they can hardly explain. For us tonight, K2 is not a threat, but a distant symbol of courage, of frailty, and of the quiet strength it takes simply to keep breathing gently in the dark. Chapter 16. Above all these peaks, the jet stream sings its high, invisible song, a ribbon of wind that can tear tents, snap ropes, and carve strange shapes into the snow. Climbers study forecasts and shifting clouds, hoping to find a small, gentle window when the sky will allow them to move. Yet even with the best plans, storms sometimes arrive early or linger too long, and people must wait in fragile camps listening to the fabric tremble. In those long hours, survival becomes something simple and sacred. Melting snow for water, sharing quiet words, checking on one another. The greatest summit in those moments is not height, but the soft persistence of hope. Chapter 17. In the base camps beneath these giants, life feels almost like a small village in the sky. Prayer flags flutter between tents, carrying colourful whispers into the wind. Stoves hiss softly as water boils for tea. Names from many countries mingle in the thin air, and people trade stories, fears, and laughter under the same cold moon. Down here, before the steep slopes and hard choices, there is still warmth, still community. Survival is not yet about fixed ropes and oxygen. It is about kindness, about noticing when someone's hands shake from the cold, about sharing an extra layer or a quiet joke. Even at the edge of the death zone, love is the first shelter. Chapter 18. For some, the journey to an 8,000-meter peak begins years before they ever see it. They work long hours, save every spare coin, sell belongings, and carry their dream through seasons of ordinary struggle. When they finally arrive in the Himalayas or the Karakoram, the mountains seem almost unreal, too vast to belong to the same world as their small apartment or crowded bus rides. Standing beneath these walls of ice, many feel both tiny and deeply alive. The ascent is never just a climb, it is the physical shape of an inner promise. And yet, the mountains quietly remind them, you were already worthy before you ever set foot on this glacier. Chapter 19. On K2, the line between turning back and going on is as thin as a knife-edge ridge. Weather windows are brief, and the mountain rarely offers second chances. There are times when climbers must abandon a summit bid within sight of their dream, choosing life over height. To some, this might look like failure, but high in that cold, echoing world, such a decision is a quiet act of courage. It says, I will not trade all my tomorrows for this one moment. As you lie here listening, let that lesson seep into your own heart. You're allowed to step back. You're allowed to choose gentler paths and still be brave. Chapter 20. High on K2, the bottleneck waits like a narrow doorway in the sky. Below a hanging glacier of blue, ancient ice, climbers move slowly along a thin traverse, their bodies small against the vast, dark wall. It is not just the steepness that makes this place so feared, it is the feeling that everything above is listening, watching, holding its breath. Here, more lives have been taken than in any other single stretch of high mountain ground. And yet, those who pass through do so with a strange, quiet grace, each step a prayer, each axe placement a whispered plea. The bottleneck reminds us that some thresholds in life are crossed not with swagger, but with trembling, careful faith. As you hear these stories, let your own breathing grow calm and steady. Imagine the storms of your day swirling safely outside a warm, glowing tent. Inside, there is only the soft rhythm of your heart, like a distant drum in a snowy valley. You do not stand beneath a hanging glacier, you lie upon a gentle bed. You are not roped to strangers in the dark, you are wrapped in blankets and quiet. Let every exhale be like snow settling, filling in the sharp edges of your thoughts, smoothing the slopes of your mind. You do not need to be brave or strong tonight. You only need to rest, to allow the great cold world outside to shrink to a peaceful hush while you drift in safety and warmth. Chapter 21. On all the 8,000ers, whether in Nepal, Tibet or Pakistan, there comes a moment when climbers step into the death zone, where oxygen is only a thin fraction of what bodies were made for. Movements become slow, minds blur at the edges, and even simple tasks feel like lifting stones made of air. Above 8,000 meters, the human body cannot truly stay. It is slowly, quietly being spent. Yet in this fragile region, people still pause to watch sunrises, to notice how the first light paints distant ridges in soft gold. Even at the edge of survival, wonder finds a way. It is a reminder that in every difficult place, there can still be beauty worth breathing for. Chapter 22. The cost of these journeys can be counted in money, 20,000, 30,000, even more for certain peaks and permits, but the true price is measured in time, love, and risk. Families wait in faraway cities and villages, checking weather reports they barely understand, clinging to brief satellite messages from tents on distant glaciers. For them, the mountain is not a postcard, It is a pause in a shared life, a space filled with hope and quiet fear. When their climber returns, whether from Everest, K2, or any other giant, the greatest summit is often a front door opening, boots on a familiar floor, an embrace in a warm room. The highest peak in the end might simply be coming home. Chapter 23. On some expeditions to K2, the hardest moments are not on the steep ice, but in the long waiting days at base camp. Storms can lock the mountain in swirling cloud for a week or more, burying ropes, erasing tracks, and turning every plan into a question mark. In those quiet days, climbers mend gear, sip hot drinks, and stare up into the grey, wondering what is happening high above. The mountain is there, but hidden, like a thought you cannot quite reach. In that uncertainty, they learn patience, how to surrender control, how to live one day at a time. It is a lesson the rest of us can carry into our own storms. Chapter 24. Weather in the Karakoram moves with its own wild rhythm. A sky that seems clear at dawn can be full of roaring wind by midday, clouds wrapping the ridges like restless ghosts. Forecasts are only guesses in this world of shifting ice and stone. Climbers heading for K2's upper slopes know that at any moment they may have to turn back, descend, and wait again. The higher they go, the more fragile their margin becomes. Up there, every choice is a quiet negotiation with nature. Listening to this, you might notice a gentler forecast in your own room. Steady air, safe walls, the soft certainty of your pillow. Here, tonight, the only decision is to rest. Chapter 25. Many who have survived disasters on K2 speak of small, human moments that kept them going. A partner's hand on a shoulder, a shared sip of water, a few calm words spoken in the dark. In the thin air, where thoughts can fray and panic can rise, these gestures become anchors. When ropes are lost, when tents are torn, when the route disappears in snow, the bond between climbers often becomes the last solid thing. Some give up their own chances to help others descend. Some stay awake to check on teammates who keep slipping into sleep. In those acts of care, the mountain's cold cruelty is met with a warmer, deeper kind of strength. Chapter 26. Night on K2 is a different kind of darkness. Headlamps trace slow constellations along ridges and couloirs, tiny moving stars against walls of shadow. The wind hums through guy lines. Snow grains whisper against the fabric of tents. In that high, frozen world, the universe feels close and immense at the same time. Climbers lie in their sleeping bags, listening to their own breathing, counting the hours until they must rise into the cold again. Some pray, some remember faces at home, some simply listen. For you, your night is gentler. No alarms for summit pushes, no oxygen masks, no frozen boots. Just the soft invitation of the pillow beneath your head and the quiet promise that you are safe and you are allowed to sleep. Chapter 27. Sometimes the greatest danger on any of the 8,000ers is not a sudden avalanche or storm, but quiet exhaustion. Step by step, hour by hour, climbers can slip into a haze where judgment blurs and simple choices become heavy. Do I clip this rope? Do I drink this water now or later? Above, the summit gleams like a distant promise. Below, the route down seems endless. In that thin, shimmering world, survival often depends on the ability to pause, to listen to the small voice that says, rest, breathe, think. It is the same voice you can honor tonight when you let your thoughts slow and choose, gently, to let go. Chapter 28. On Everest and other popular peaks, long lines sometimes form high on the route, human chains inching toward the top. To some, these images look like ambition. To others, they seem like a quiet warning. In the death zone, delays can be deadly, as oxygen runs low and cold seeps in. Yet, even there, kindness appears. Climbers sharing spare oxygen, moving aside to let a weaker person pass, turning around to help someone descending in distress. High-altitude survival is rarely a solo achievement. It is a web of choices and compassion. As you rest here, think of all the people whose unnoticed care has helped you make it through your own long climbs in life. Chapter 29. The Sherpa and high-altitude workers who move through these mountains carry loads of rope, tents, and oxygen long before most clients arrive. They fix lines through dangerous sections, cross ladders over gaping crevasses, and sometimes risk their lives so others can follow a safer path. Their strength is quiet, their stories often untold, yet their footprints mark the way to nearly every modern summit. In camp, they laugh, cook, pray, and care for one another, weaving a net of community beneath the thin sky. Remembering them, we are reminded that many of the summits in our lives are built on unseen kindness, on hands and hearts that helped prepare the way. Chapter 30. When accidents happen on K2 or any of the 8,000ers, the mountain does not celebrate or mourn. The ice remains cold, the wind remains indifferent, the summit remains distant and still. Yet among the climbers and families, stories begin to form, of bravery, of last words, of efforts to save one another. Over time, these tales become part of the mountain's invisible tapestry. They are warnings, yes, but also blessings, reminding future climbers to move humbly, to plan carefully, to cherish every safe descent. For us tonight, these stories are not meant to frighten. They are gentle reminders that every ordinary breath, taken in warmth and safety, is already a miracle. As you lie here now, let your own life feel a little like a quiet base camp after a long day's approach. The tents are pitched in your mind, the storms of thought are passing beyond distant ridges. Feel the soft press of your pillow like snow that has finally come to rest, smoothing the rough edges of the day. You do not need to solve anything in this moment. You do not need to prove your worth or hold every rope alone. Inhale slowly, as if drawing in the thin, holy air above the clouds. Exhale gently, releasing every steep worry into the valley below. You are safe. You are sheltered, and for this stretch of the night, your only summit is peace. Chapter 31. In the quiet hours before a summit push, climbers often lie awake, even if they desperately need sleep. The alarm might be set for midnight or 1 a.m., a signal to rise into the dark and begin the long walk toward the sky. Outside, the wind presses gently against the tent wall. Inside, hearts beat a little faster. Some think of home, some of the route ahead, some of past failures or close calls, and then, almost always, there comes a moment of stillness, a breath where all the noise inside quiets. In that small pause, they accept the unknown and step forward anyway. It is courage wrapped in down and frost, moving one slow breath at a time. Chapter 32. Headlamps bloom in the darkness like a string of fragile stars, tracing the line of climbers leaving camp. On slopes of Everest, Manaslu, K2, and all the great peaks, this scene repeats. Small lights against immense shadows, human warmth pushing back a little of the cold. Each light represents a story, a lifetime of choices leading to this narrow path of snow. High above, the real stars look on, ancient and unblinking. Between those distant fires and the glow of headlamps lies the thin thread of human hope. As you listen, You might imagine your own inner light, steady and gentle, shining quietly through the darkness of whatever you've faced today. Chapter 33. As dawn approaches in the high mountains, the world slowly changes colour. Black turns to deep blue, then to pale silver as the first hints of morning touch distant ridges. For climbers who have been moving all night, this shift feels like a blessing. Shapes return, horizons reappear. The cold is still sharp, the wind still fierce, but the sight of sunrise brings a quiet surge of strength. On K2, when the first light spills over the Karakoram, jagged summits glow like embers in a vast frozen fire. Even in that fearsome place, the coming of day is gentle. It whispers that no darkness lasts forever, and that every long night eventually meets a softer sky. Chapter 34. Not every climb ends with a summit, and not every expedition returns with triumph. Sometimes storms are too strong, snow too unstable, bodies too tired or unwell. Crevasses open in unexpected places, rocks fall from silent cliffs. Guides and team leaders decide to turn back, and hearts sink under layers of down and disappointment. Yet, over time, many climbers look back on those failed journeys with gratitude. They remember the laughter in base camp, the shared meals, the awe of seeing the sunrise from high on the route. They remember the wise decision to choose life over risk. In the long story of a person's days, such choices become quiet, shining summits of their own. Chapter 35. Sometimes, the greatest gift a mountain gives is a reason to stop. On K2, there are stories of climbers who, after years of dreaming and months of preparation, halted only a few hundred meters below the summit. The weather changed, the snow felt wrong under their crampons, or an intuition whispered that something was not right. Turning back in that moment can feel like tearing a piece from the heart. Yet, as years pass, many of those who retreated come to see that decision as one of their bravest acts. They chose birthdays yet to come, conversations yet to be had, embraces yet to be shared. They chose life over legend. Chapter 36. In the long history of the 8000ers, some of the most powerful moments are not about reaching the top, but about going down to help another soul in need. Climbers have given up summits to guide frostbitten partners back to camp, shared precious oxygen with strangers, and waited in brutal cold for rescue attempts that never came. On K2 and Annapurna, on Nanga Parbat and Kangchenjunga, such stories repeat like quiet psalms of sacrifice. High above the world, where everything is stripped bare, love shows itself not in grand speeches, but in the simple act of staying beside someone who might otherwise be alone. Chapter 37. For every triumphant photograph taken on a summit, there are unseen moments that shaped the journey. Nights of doubt, tears shed in the privacy of a sleeping bag, whispered prayers into the darkness. On K2, where the ridgelines are sharp and the consequences severe, these hidden struggles are even more intense. Some climbers admit that they were afraid nearly every day but kept moving anyway, not out of recklessness, but out of a quiet devotion to the path they had chosen. Their honesty reminds us that courage is not the absence of fear. It is the gentle decision, again and again, to keep breathing, keep trusting, and keep honouring the truth of our hearts. Chapter 38. The families of those who climb the 8000ers carry their own invisible packs. Partners, parents, children and friends watch weather charts and news reports, trying to read between lines, listening for the tone of a satellite call or a short text from base camp. When something goes wrong on K2 or any of the high peaks, their world tilts in a different way. The mountain they have never seen becomes a looming presence in their living room, a name that echoes through phone calls and emails. In time, some of them travel to those distant valleys, standing at memorial cairns where prayer flags flutter in the wind, and find a strange, solemn comfort in touching the cold stones that hold the memory of those they love. Chapter 39. On the paths leading toward many of these giants, there are small places where the living and the lost meet. Stone cairns rise beside the trail, stacked by careful hands. Prayer flags fade and fray in the wind, their colours softened by sun and snow. Simple plaques bear names, dates, and sometimes just a single word: beloved. On the approaches to Everest, Manaslu, Annapurna and K2, these quiet memorials become waypoints of reflection. Climbers pause, touch the cold rock, and feel the weight of all the stories that came before. The mountain is no longer just a dream of altitude, it becomes a shared altar of memory, reminding each traveller to step with reverence and gratitude. Chapter 40. High-altitude climbing has changed over the decades. Once, only small pioneering teams ventured into these ranges with limited gear, uncertain forecasts and maps that were more imagination than fact. Today, satellite phones, detailed weather models and fixed ropes weave a different pattern on the ice. Commercial expeditions bring more people to the 8,000ers than ever before. Yet even with new tools and technology, the mountains remain the same, ancient, indifferent, and vast. K2 still rises steep and demanding. Annapurna's slopes still shift without warning. In this contrast, there is a gentle truth. Progress can help, but it cannot erase our vulnerability. We are still small under the sky, still dependent on kindness, wisdom, and the quiet guidance of humility. As you listen, let these images soften inside you, like snowflakes melting on warm skin. Imagine yourself not on a ridge or in a storm, but in a safe, lamplit tent of your own blankets. Outside, distant peaks glow under a clear, cold moon. Inside, your breath moves slowly, like a calm climber choosing each step with care. You do not need oxygen tanks. You do not need ropes, crampons, or courage sharpened by danger. All you need is this gentle rhythm of in-doubt, this steady heartbeat, this moment of rest that no one can take from you. Let your muscles loosen, your jaw unclench, your thoughts drift like clouds clearing from a high summit. You're not late, you're not behind. For tonight, simply being here, breathing softly, is enough. Chapter 41. There was a season on K2 when the mountain kept many who tried to touch its crown. Ropes tangled, ice broke, seracs shifted, and the weather turned its hard, cold face toward the climbers. In the aftermath, the world spoke of statistics and causes, of decisions and mistakes. But those who were there remember other details: the sound of voices calling through the dark, the glow of headlamps searching the slope, the way strangers became family in a single night of crisis. From far away, it is easy to see only the danger. Up close, within the storm, another story appears, a story of people who refused to abandon one another, even as the sky seemed to close. Chapter 42. In the stories of K2, there is often a moment where Sountain seems to speak without words. A sudden crack of ice, a gust of wind that tears at tents, a cloud blossoming too quickly over the summit. These are its quiet sentences. Climbers learn to listen. to the tension in the snow beneath their crampons, to the way spindrift flows like silver dust across a ridge, to the feeling in their own chest that says, enough. Sometimes they heed that message and turn back. Sometimes they ignore it and pay a painful price. For you tonight, listening in safety, the lesson is gentle. Your body too whispers, it is holy to listen when it asks for rest. Chapter 43. On all the high peaks, but especially on K2, memory becomes a kind of map. Survivors of fierce seasons return years later, tracing with their eyes the lines where friends once climbed, where avalanches fell, where voices were last heard. They stand in base camp looking up, and the mountain is layered with invisible paths and faces. In their hearts, it is not just a peak. It is a vast, frozen archive of moments that will never be repeated. As you lie here, you may feel your own inner landscape, the high places of joy, the steep slopes of loss. You do not need to fix any of it tonight. You need only to acknowledge it, softly, and let it rest. Chapter 44. The people who live in the shadow of these giants, the villagers of remote valleys, the porters who carry loads along rocky trails, the families who welcome climbers with tea and smiles, know the mountains in another way. To them, K2 and its neighbours are not trophies but neighbours, sources of water, weather, and stories passed from elder to child. They watch each expedition come and go, sometimes celebrating returns, sometimes grieving absences. Their lives are woven with the rhythms of these ranges, the thaw of spring, the heavy snows of winter, the calls of birds along the rivers. From them, we learn that a mountain can be both dangerous and sacred, both feared and loved, like time itself. Chapter 45. When a climber finally leaves K2 behind, whether after a summit, a retreat, or a rescue, the journey home can feel unreal. Air grows thicker, colours return to the world, green valleys, running water, the rich brown of earth. The body, worn thin by cold and altitude, begins its slow healing. Yet often, the mountain lingers inside, in dreams, in sudden flashes of memory, in the feeling of wind against skin. Over months and years, those sharp impressions soften, becoming quieter blessings, reminders of how close they once walked to the edge and how precious ordinary days truly are. As you breathe now, feel that same blessing. You are far from the edge, wrapped in safety, held gently by the night. Chapter 46. Some of the most dangerous peaks are not just steep in ice, but steep in cost. Everest, with its high permit fees and elaborate logistics, often feels like a summit that only the wealthy can chase. K2, though less commercial, still demands tens of thousands of dollars, weeks away from work and gear that many can barely afford. From afar, it may seem like a playground for the privileged. Yet beneath the numbers, there are countless quiet sacrifices, families tightening budgets, loved ones taking on extra hours, climbers selling possessions to fund a single chance. Each rope, each crampon, each oxygen cylinder carries a story of trust and hope, woven together in the thin air. Chapter 47. Maps of the 8000ers show ridges, couloirs, camps, and glaciers, thin lines and symbols on white paper. But there is another map that cannot be printed, the terrain inside each climber. On K2, where every section demands focus, this inner landscape matters as much as any route plan. Fear, courage, doubt, and faith rise and fall like the mountain's own ridges. A person might arrive with a perfect strategy, and yet falter in the invisible country of their thoughts. Another, with simpler means, may find a deep, quiet strength they did not know they had. The mountains remind us that the most important ascent often happens within, where no one else can see. Chapter 48. In the stillness of a high camp, when the stoves are off and the last conversations fade, a special silence descends. Outside, the wind may still move, stars may still burn coldly in the sky, but inside the tent there is only the soft rustle of sleeping bags and slow breathing. On K2, in such moments, climbers feel how thin the walls really are between life and everything beyond. Yet that fragility brings a strange peace, a sense that every heartbeat is precious, every shared word a gift. As you lie in your own room tonight, you can borrow that stillness, feeling the thin but sufficient shelter of your walls and the quiet miracle of your own breathing. Chapter 49. Long after expeditions end, the stories continue to travel. Survivors of K2 and the other 8,000ers sit at kitchen tables, in small cafes, or beneath trees in quiet parks, trying to find words for what they saw. They talk about the colour of dawn on ice, the hiss of oxygen masks, the taste of melted snow, the faces of those who did not return. Often, their voices soften when they speak of small things: a shared cup of tea, a song hummed in a tent, a prayer whispered into the wind. These details become lanterns they carry back down into ordinary life, gentle lights that help them and us remember how fragile and beautiful existence truly is. Chapter 50. By now we have wandered in imagination among all 14 of the great 8,000ers, pausing often at the shadowed slopes of K2. We have looked at numbers and names, storms and summits, losses and returns, yet beneath all of it runs a single steady thread, the longing of the human heart to touch something higher, and the equally deep longing to come home again. The mountain in these stories is both real and symbolic, the harsh ridge of K2 and the quiet climbs of your own life, the struggles no one else fully sees. At this midpoint of our night's journey, we pause not to gaze upward, but to look gently inward. You have climbed enough for today. You have already crossed your own crevasses, decisions made, tasks carried, emotions weathered like shifting storms. For a little while now, you're invited to set down the rope of effort and the pack of expectation. Feel your body resting where it is, supported, cradled, safe. Your bed is your base camp. Your blankets are your warm, reliable tent. Outside this circle of softness, the world may still be busy, noisy, uncertain. But here, in this small, sacred space, there is only the slow rhythm of your breath. Inhale gently, as if drawing in the cool, clean air of a high, starlit camp. Exhale slowly, letting go of every steep thought, every sharp worry, like loose snow sliding harmlessly away down a distant slope. You don't have to conquer summits tonight. You don't have to be heroic or productive or perfect. You are here to rest. You're here to breathe. You're here to be reminded that your worth is not measured in heights reached, but in the simple, enduring glow of your own spirit. If gratitude feels possible, let it come softly, perhaps for a warm room, a safe roof, a beating heart, a single person who cares for you. If gratitude feels far away, that is all right too. The mountains would tell you, if they had voices, that simply staying, simply enduring, simply arriving at another night is already a quiet triumph. So allow this moment to be enough. Let the first half of our journey settle inside you like snow coming to rest on a calm slope, gentle, silent, complete. Ahead, more stories will unfold, but for now, just breathe and let yourself drift a little deeper into peace. Chapter 51. As climbers prepare for K2 or any of the 8000ers, much of the journey happens far from snow. It unfolds in quiet gyms at dawn, on staircases climbed with heavy packs, in long runs through city streets where mountains exist only in the imagination. Bodies grow stronger, lungs learn patience. Yet alongside the physical training, another practice emerges, learning to sit with discomfort, to breathe through fear, to continue when the mind whispers, "Stop." In this way, the mountain begins shaping them long before they see its face. Listening now, you can feel a gentler echo of that process. Every hard day you've lived has been its own kind of training, teaching you to endure and to soften at the same time. Chapter 52, Acclimatization Climbs. Up and down, are the slow heartbeat of high-altitude expeditions. On K2, teams move between camps like tides, rising higher to touch the thin air, then flowing back to thicker oxygen to rest. It can feel repetitive, discouraging even. The summit seems no closer. The same steep sections must be faced again and again. But with each patient ascent and descent, the body learns, the blood changes, the spirit adjusts. What once felt impossible becomes merely difficult. What was crushingly hard becomes quietly manageable. In your own life, you have made similar acclimatization journeys, revisiting challenges, growing stronger with every return. Tonight, you don't have to climb again. You can simply rest in the strength you've already gained. Chapter 53. There is a special kind of silence that falls when a climber steps away from the group for a few moments, perhaps to adjust a crampon, to look back at the valley, or simply to breathe alone. On the flanks of K2, that silence is vast. The crunch of boots eases, voices fade, and only the wind and heartbeat remain. In that pause, some feel small, others feel held by something immense and unseen. It is as if the mountain presses gently on the edges of their awareness, asking no questions, offering no judgment, simply existing. Tonight, if you let it, a similar spaciousness can open within you, an inner ledge where you can stand quietly, free from every voice that demands, and just be. Chapter 54. Helicopters sometimes appear in these high stories, small machines beating their way up valleys to pluck the injured or exhausted from glaciers and moraines. Their blades thump like urgent hearts. Their arrival brings relief and grief in equal measure. For every rescue, there are others that cannot be made, places too high, weather too fierce. On K2, where conditions are often beyond the reach of help, climbers know that much of their safety must come from their own choices and from each other. As you lie here, there is no need for rescue. The storm is outside, if it exists at all, and your shelter is sound. Imagine a gentle, unseen helicopter lifting your worries away, carrying them down valley until there are only distant echoes in the night. Chapter 55. Sometimes, in the middle of an expedition, a climber will fall ill in ways that are hard to see. Altitude sickness creeping in like a slow, invisible tide. Headaches pound, nausea rises, balance wavers. On K2 and the other high peaks, this is not just discomfort. It can be the first sign of real danger. The choice to descend can feel like surrendering a dream, yet it is often an act of deep wisdom. Partners shoulder loads, adjust plans, and walk together back to thicker air. No one celebrates, but there is a quiet sense of rightness. In your own life, there have been times when you needed to step back, to heal. Tonight, you honor that same wisdom by allowing yourself to rest. Chapter 56. Ropes on these mountains are more than gear. They are lifelines, threads of trust linking one person to another. On K2's steep faces, a secure anchor can mean the difference between a safe step and a fall into darkness. Climbers clip in, feeling the soft tug of connection along the line. It is a reminder that they are not alone in the thin air. When one slips, another can arrest the fall. When one hesitates, another offers steadying words. In a quieter way, you're also held by invisible ropes, friendships, memories, acts of kindness that have caught you when you stumbled. As you breathe slowly now, imagine those gentle lines around you, keeping you safe in the dark. Chapter 57. At lower camps, especially during clear evenings, climbers sometimes gather outside their tents just to watch the sky. Far from city lights, the stars over the Karakoram burn with an almost startling clarity. K2 and its neighbours stand as dark silhouettes beneath a river of constellations. In these moments, conversation softens. People point out shapes, share stories from childhood, speak of dreams beyond the summit. The mountain, for a little while, feels less like an enemy and more like a participant in a vast, silent choir of stone and starlight. You too are under that same sky, even if you cannot see it now. Its ancient calm reaches through your ceiling, touching your rest with a quiet blessing. Chapter 58. Not all who dream of K2 or the other 8,000ers will ever set crampons on ice. Some will read books, watch documentaries, follow weather reports, and trace routes with their fingers on maps, living the climb in imagination only. Yet their fascination is no less real. They are drawn to the same questions. How far can a person go? What does it mean to face fear? Where is the line between risk and reverence? Listening tonight, you are part of that circle. You travel safely through story, feeling the cold without being chilled, sensing the height without losing breath. And in this gentle journey, the mountain offers you its most merciful gift, the chance to find courage without ever leaving the warmth of your bed. Chapter 59. Every great mountain leaves its mark not only on the body, but on the stories people tell afterward. For some who step onto K2's flanks, the defining memory is not a summit or a storm, but a single, quiet instant. The curve of a cornice against a violet dawn, the sudden break in cloud revealing a sea of peaks below, the feel of sun on a frozen face after a long, bitter night. These flashes of beauty, small and fragile, sink deep into the heart. Years later, they surface in unexpected moments. A smell of cold air, a glimpse of distant hills, reminding the climber that they once walked in a world where every breath felt like a prayer. Chapter 60. In recent years, new records have been set on the 8,000ers, rapid ascents, all 14 summits in short spans of time, daring winter climbs on peaks once thought untouchable in the coldest months. K2 too has felt the press of these ambitious footsteps, ropes and flags marking routes across its icy ribs. Some celebrate these feats as proof of human possibility. Others worry that speed can drown out reflection, that numbers might overshadow reverence. Yet somewhere between the headlines and the silence, a truth remains. No matter how fast or famous an ascent may be, every climber up there still feels the sting of wind on skin, the ache of lungs, the simple, humbling need to put one careful foot in front of the other. As you listen, let the flurry of records and statistics drift away, like snowflakes carried off by a gentle breeze. You are not racing anyone tonight. There is no stopwatch on your rest, no summit log for your dreams. Feel how slowly you are allowed to move here. Your breath rises and falls at its own unhurried pace, like a prayer flag lifting and lowering in a soft wind. Your thoughts can wander like a lazy river through a wide valley, turning where they wish, or settling into still pools of quiet. Imagine that you have stepped away from the noise of the world's expectations, away from crowded headlines and lists of achievements. You stand instead in a silent snowfield of your own being, surrounded by distant peaks, the sky deep and calm above you. There is nothing you must prove to the mountains of your life in this moment. Not to K2, not to anyone, not even to yourself. Inhale gently, as if the air were starlight. Exhale slowly, letting go of comparison, of hurry, of every story that says you must climb faster, higher, or harder. Here, the only record that matters is the kindness you offer yourself. Here, the only summit is the soft, steady peace that begins to rise within your chest. Chapter 61. Some who come to the high mountains bring with them burdens that are not made of rope or steel, old griefs, unanswered questions, quiet sorrows that have followed them for years. On the slopes of K2 and the other 8,000ers, these inner weights can feel strangely lighter, as if the vastness of ice and sky makes room for them to breathe. A climber might pause on a ridge, look out over 1,000 ridgelines fading into blue, and feel, for the first time in a long time, that their pain is held by something larger than themselves. Listening now, you don't need to travel so far. The night around, you can hold your feelings too, gently, without asking you to explain. Chapter 62. Equipment lists for these expeditions are long. Boots, harness, helmet, ice axe, down suit, gloves upon gloves. Yet there are other essentials that never appear on paper. Patience, humility, the willingness to say, I don't know, when the weather shifts or the snow feels wrong. On K2, where margins are thin, these invisible tools matter more than the sharpest crampons. A humble climber will turn back sooner, rest longer, listen more closely to the mountain and to their own body. In this way, humility becomes a quiet shield. Tonight, you are free to set down any armor of certainty. You can admit softly that you are still learning, still unfolding, and that this too is enough. Chapter 63. Sometimes, a climber on an 8,000er will look down from high on the route and see the long path they have already climbed. Valleys, glaciers, camps now tiny and distant below. The view can be both comforting and overwhelming. So far already, and yet still so far to go. On K2, where the route is steep and unrelenting, this perspective can stir both awe and fatigue. The only way forward is to focus on the next few steps, the next breath, the next anchor. In your own journey through days and years, the same truth applies. You have already come a long way. You do not need to see the whole route tonight. Just a single, gentle breath ahead is enough. Chapter 64. News of success or tragedy on the 8,000ers travels quickly now, carried by signals that bounce from satellite to satellite, flowing into phones and screens around the world. Case 2's storms and summits can appear in living rooms within hours, turning distant slopes into shared conversation. Yet, beyond the headlines, there are countless quiet details that never reach the news. A cook in base camp stirring a pot of soup, a porter tying his laces in the cold dawn, a climber tucking a small photo into an inner pocket before stepping onto the glacier. These small, tender acts are the true fabric of every expedition. In the same way, the gentle habits of your own evening, the way you arrange your pillow, the light you choose, the last thought you hold, are the quiet threads that shape your night. Chapter 65. On approach treks to these high mountains, before any rope is clipped or crampon strapped, there is a different kind of journey. Paths wind through villages where children wave, yaks or mules carry loads, and rivers roar with meltwater from glaciers far above. On the way to K2's Baltoro Glacier, or the trails beneath Everest and Annapurna, climbers walk for days under shifting weather, their heavy packs balanced by simple hospitality, a shared pot of tea, a smile, a place to sleep. These lower valleys remind them that the peaks are not separate from life, but rooted in it. The climb begins with human connection, long before snow and ice. Chapter 66. As teams finally step onto the glaciers leading toward the 8000ers, the ground changes voice. Rocks give way to ice that creaks and groans underfoot, riddled with hidden crevasses. On the way to K2, the vast white rivers of the Karakoram stretch for kilometers, a frozen labyrinth moving inch by inch each year. Ladders might span deep blue chasms, fixed lines guide the way through broken sea racks. Here, the earth feels alive and restless. Each careful step is a conversation with the unknown. Listening now, your own ground is solid and still, yet you can borrow the same mindfulness, placing your attention gently on this breath, this moment, as if it were sacred ice. Chapter 67. In the thin air above 7,000 meters, small tasks become slow rituals. Zipping a jacket, tightening a boot, lighting a stove. Each movement on K2 or any 8000 demands focus and patience. Hands in thick gloves fumble with simple objects. Thoughts must be gathered like scattered gear. Time stretches and softens. A climber may spend long minutes just melting snow for water, watching the flame flicker beneath the pot, listening to the faint roar of gas against cold metal. In that small circle of light, the world narrows to warmth, breath, and waiting. Tonight, your own rituals, turning off a light, adjusting your covers, closing your eyes, can be just as holy, small doors opening toward rest. Chapter 68. There are moments high on these peaks when the horizon seems endless. From the ridges of K2, climbers have described looking out over wave after wave of mountains. Gasherbrum, Broad Peak, Nanga Parbat far away, each summit a tiny white flame against the sky. In such views, borders disappear. Nations, languages, and lines on maps fall away beneath a single ocean of stone and snow. The heart may feel both utterly small and mysteriously included, as if the whole earth were breathing with it. As you lie here, you can imagine that same horizon unfolding softly behind your closed eyes, not to overwhelm you, but to remind you that you belong to something vast, and yet are cherished in your small, quiet place. Chapter 69. In the smallest corners of an expedition, there are objects that hold great meaning. A worn glove, a lucky hat, a faded photograph tucked inside a jacket. On K2 and the other 8000ers, these humble items become quiet companions, carried through storms and sunlight, through doubt and determination. When hands are cold and spirits low, a climber might look at a loved one's picture or touch a simple charm and feel a thread stretching all the way back home. That thread does not melt like snow or snap like ice. It endures. Tonight you also carry such threads within you, memories, names, gentle faces, that keep you anchored even when life feels steep. Chapter 70. As expeditions draw to a close, there is a ritual of leaving. Camps are dismantled, ropes come down, trash is gathered from the ice. On the glacier beneath K2 or the slopes of Everest and Annapurna, footprints slowly fade as new snow falls. The mountain returns to its older silence, unchanged, unclaimed. Climbers walk away lighter and more tired, quieter than when they arrived. Some feel joy, some sorrow, most a mixture of both. They know now that no one truly owns a summit. At best, they are granted a brief visit. The peaks remain, patient and eternal, while human lives flow onward like rivers, carrying newfound gratitude back to the lowlands. Let these images wash gently through you, like cool water running over smooth stones. You do not have to hold on to every detail. You can let the stories drift past, keeping only the softness they leave behind. Feel how your body sinks a little deeper into rest, as if you have finished a long, beautiful walk and finally slipped off your heavy pack. Notice your breath, rising, falling, like a slow lantern moving through the dark. Each inhale is a safe step forward. Each exhale is a release, a tiny descent into comfort. Out beyond your walls, the world has its own mountains, its own storms and bright summits. But here, in this small sacred space, the air is calm. You are not expected to climb or decide or understand everything. For this moment, allow yourself to be simply a traveller at base camp after the journey, wrapped in warmth, listening to the wind tell stories among the peaks. Nothing more is required of you than to breathe and to rest. Chapter 71. Long after climbers leave, the mountains remain as silent teachers for those who only hear of them in passing. A photograph of K2 at sunset, a line in a book about Annapurna, a brief news story about a rescue on Nanga Parbat. These fragments touch lives far from snow. Someone sitting on a crowded bus or lying awake in a small room may feel their heart stirred by the idea of such heights, not to chase risk, but to remember that there is more to this world than traffic and schedules. The peaks whisper of perspective, of smallness and wonder. As you lie here, they remind you that even if your life never brushes those altitudes, your spirit can still know vastness, quiet, and peace. Chapter 72. In some seasons, climbers return to the same mountain more than once, Everest, Manaslu, even K2, drawn back by a feeling that their story with that peak is not yet finished. From the outside, this can look like obsession, but for many it is more like a conversation paused mid-sentence. They come again with new partners, different weather, changed hearts. The mountain itself is unchanged, yet they are not the same as before. Old fears feel softer, new wisdom has taken root. Whether they finally stand on the summit or not, the real completion often happens quietly inside, an acceptance, a letting go, a sense that whatever needed to be learned has gently unfolded. Chapter 73. Guides and expedition leaders on the 8000ers carry more than maps and radios. They carry responsibility for every life tied into their ropes. On K2, where choices are sharp and consequences swift, these leaders weigh forecasts, study snow, and measure the fatigue in their team's faces. They decide when to climb and when to wait, when to push and when to turn back. Sometimes their decisions are misunderstood in the moment, seen as too cautious, too strict. Yet, in the long story of the mountains, many lives have been preserved by a single firm no. Listening tonight, you might remember those in your own life who have quietly guided you away from danger, their care another kind of unseen summit. Chapter 74. For those who have lost someone on an 8000er, the mountains can become both wound and sanctuary. At first, even the shape of K2 or Annapurna on a page may hurt to see, but over time, some families and friends find comfort in the thought of those high places, the clear air, the unbroken snow, the way sunlight touches ridges that no city building ever can. They imagine their loved one standing in that vastness, feeling awe in their final days. Grief remains, but it is held within a larger beauty. In your own sorrows, the night can offer something similar. Not an answer, but a gentle space where pain can rest without being rushed away. Chapter 75. There is a kind of prayer that has no words, only breath. Climbers on K2 and the other high peaks know this prayer well. It rises in the quiet before a difficult pitch, in the stillness after a near miss, in the long, slow exhale as they clip into a secure anchor. It is the body's way of saying, I am here, I am fragile, I am grateful. You do not need to be on a mountain to offer such a prayer. Tonight, as you lie in your own safe place, your breathing can be its own soft hymn, a steady, unspoken thank you for the warmth around you, the roof above you, the chance to see another dawn. Chapter 76. Every expedition must eventually choose a final camp, a highest point from which to make a summit bid or a last safe ledge before turning back. On K2, this camp is often perched on narrow ground, tents anchored to ice with all the care hearts can muster. From there, climbers stare up at the remaining route, steep, uncertain, glittering in the cold light. They know that whatever happens next, this is a threshold. For you, this night can be a gentler kind of final camp, a place where you decide quietly to stop climbing through your thoughts, to stop pushing up the slopes of worry. You have come far enough for today. Now you may simply rest. Chapter 77. When the hour comes to rise from that highest camp, sleep is often thin and scattered. On K2, climbers stir in their bags, listening to the faint rasp of wind and the soft crackle of frost on tent walls. Stoves hiss to life, melting snow for one last drink. Fingers clumsy in thick gloves struggle with zippers and harnesses. Outside, the world is a vast bowl of darkness, stars pricked like cold candles overhead. Each person steps into their boots knowing that this could be the day their life bends in a new direction, toward triumph, toward retreat, or toward something they cannot yet imagine. Chapter 78. The first steps away from high camp are often the hardest. Bodies are stiff, breath is shallow, and the cold bites like a quiet, patient animal. Roped together, climbers on K2 move slowly upward, headlamps carving small tunnels of light through the night. The crunch of crampons on ice becomes a kind of rhythm, a heartbeat shared by the team. Far below, valleys sleep in darkness. Far above, the summit waits unseen. In these moments, no one can carry anyone else's fear or hope. Each person must make peace with their own reasons for being there, folding those reasons into each careful step. Chapter 79. As the hours pass, the line of climbers stretches and compresses along steep pitches and narrow traverses. On K2's upper slopes, the world shrinks to what is immediately in front of the face. An ice bulge, a fixed line, a tiny patch of snow to place a cramp on. Yet, now and then, someone pauses and looks back. The horizon has changed. Distant peaks now lie beneath their feet. The sky seems closer, thinner, more fragile. In that glance, awe and fear mingle like cold and light. The realization settles in. I am very small, and yet somehow I am allowed to stand here. Chapter 80. Near the very top of any great mountain, time behaves strangely. Minutes stretch, breaths lengthen, muscles burn with a slow, steady flame. On K2, where the final meters demand everything, climbers can feel as though they are moving through water made of air and dreams. The summit, once a distant idea, now rises just above, a small ridge, a final snowy crest. Some will touch it. Others, sensing an invisible line they cannot cross, will stop just short and turn back. In either case, the true summit is not the snow beneath their feet, but the honesty with which they meet their own limits. You do not have to follow them there. You do not need thin air, frozen eyelashes, or a horizon full of dangerous beauty. Your journey tonight is softer, but no less sacred. Feel the way your chest rises and falls, like a gentle climb up a hill covered in grass and evening light. With each inhale, imagine drawing in calm, like cool air from a valley stream. With each exhale, let go of effort, like setting down a pack at the end of a long day. Far above, in distant ranges you may never see, K2 and its brother peaks stand in their ancient watch, wrapped in starlight and snow. They do not ask you to prove yourself. They do not demand sacrifice or daring. They simply remind you from afar that life is precious and brief, that every safe breath is a small miracle. Here, in your quiet room, you have already reached a kind of summit, this summit of this day. Nothing more is required. You may rest now, held gently between earth and sky, between waking and sleep, between all that has been and all that will come. Chapter 81. For some climbers, the descent is the truest test. After standing near or on the summit of K2 or any high peak, their bodies are empty of strength, their minds hazy from thin air and cold. Yet the way down is long and steep, and many accidents happen after the dream has already been touched. On rappel lines and down climbs, every move must still be careful, every anchor checked. The mountain does not grow softer simply because a goal has been reached. In your own days too, there are descents, times after big efforts when you feel drained. Tonight reminds you that rest is part of survival, not an afterthought but a sacred, necessary return. Chapter 82. Back at lower camps where air is thicker and colours brighter, relief can wash over an expedition like warm sunlight. On K2, when climbers finally drop below the most dangerous sections, their laughter changes, their eyes soften. They may still be days from home, but something inside has already stepped across a threshold. They survived. They came back. Around stoves, they share first versions of the stories that will later be told many times, polished and shaped, but always rooted in the rawness of these moments. Listening now, think of your own returns from difficult seasons, the quiet victories that came not with fanfare, but with a single deep breath and the realization, I made it through. Chapter 83. In the villages and towns where climbers eventually return, life moves at a different pace. Streets are filled with ordinary sounds, voices, engines, birds, footsteps on pavement. After the high silence of K2's ridges, this noise can feel overwhelming and precious at the same time. A simple meal tastes extravagant. A hot shower feels like a small miracle. Hugs linger longer. Eyes shine with a new awareness of how fragile everything is. The mountain, with all its cold severity, has given them this gift, a renewed love for the everyday. As you lie in your familiar space, you can receive that gift too, seeing your pillow, your blankets, the quiet around you as blessings, not background. Chapter 84. Over time, the sharp edges of memory soften. The terror of a storm on K2, the sting of frostbite, the grief of loss, these remain, but they are wrapped in layers of reflection and meaning. Climbers learn to speak of their experiences not only with fear, but with gratitude. Gratitude for those who helped them, for the strength they discovered, for the clearer sense of what truly matters. The mountain becomes, in their stories, both a harsh teacher and a quiet friend. In a similar way, the difficult climbs of your own life may one day be remembered with gentler eyes. Tonight you don't need to hurry that process. You can simply rest at the base of your memories, trusting that time will slowly turn pain into wisdom and weariness into peace. Chapter 85. When years have passed, some climbers look back on their time in the high ranges and realize that the mountains followed them home, not as ghosts, but as gentle changes in how they live. After K2, after Annapurna, after any brush with such vastness, impatience seems a little smaller, anger cools more quickly. The simple act of walking down a familiar street under an ordinary sky can feel like a quiet miracle. They speak more softly to loved ones, linger longer over shared meals, listen more carefully when someone says, "I'm tired." In this way, the harsh ice of their memories melts into a softer river, watering the soil of their everyday kindness. Chapter 86. Some people will never tie into a rope or visit base camp, yet they live daily with climbs just as steep. Illness, responsibility, grief, or the quiet weight of anxiety. If they could stand beside a climber on K2, they might recognize the same tightness in the chest, the same small negotiations with fear, the same courage hidden inside ordinary motions. The mountain, in this sense, is a mirror. It reflects back to us the truth that survival is not only about avalanches and storms, but about getting out of bed on the hardest mornings, answering one more call, offering one more smile. Your own endurance, though it leaves no crampon marks on snow, is no less sacred. Chapter 87. There are stories of climbers who, after confronting the limits of their strength on an 8,000er, chose new paths entirely, becoming teachers, guides, parents, artists, healers. The mountain did not make them abandon their dreams, it clarified them. Standing on a ridge of K2 with the wind roaring in their ears, they glimpsed how brief and precious life is, how easily time can slip away like spindrift off a cornice. When they returned, they began shaping their days with more intention, more tenderness, more courage to love. You too have stood on your own invisible ridges, where choices branched like narrow couloirs. Tonight, you can honor those choices without judgment, breathing gently into the life you have made. Chapter 88. In the end, every great peak is a paradox, deadly and beautiful, distant and yet deeply entwined with human hearts. K2 stands in a remote corner of the world, wrapped in storms and silence, and yet its name is spoken in whispered awe in countless languages. People who will never see it in person still feel something stir when they hear its stories, a mixture of fear, wonder, and a strange longing for meaning. That longing is the real summit we circle around, a desire to touch something greater than ourselves and still return safely to warmth and love. Tonight, as you lie in your own quiet shelter, you're already holding that summit inside you, the steady, luminous wish to live, to love, and to rest in peace. Chapter 89. There is a quiet moment that comes to many who hear these stories from afar. They realize that, for them, the greatest act of courage may not be facing avalanches or thin air, but allowing themselves to be loved. On the ridges of K2, climbers routinely place their lives in one another's hands. They trust partners to set anchors, to hold ropes, to notice when something is wrong. Down here, our own summits often require a similar trust, letting someone see our weariness, admitting that we are afraid, accepting a hand when the slope of life feels too steep. In this way, we all become roped together, keeping one another from falling into loneliness. Chapter 19. The mountains remind us that everything on Earth moves in cycles. Storms that arrive and pass, seasons that bring snow and then melt it away, expeditions that begin, rise and return. K2, jagged and unyielding, still feels these rhythms. Summer approaches with fragile weather windows. Winter wraps the ridges in deeper, harsher cold. Climbers come and go. Generations change. Gear and techniques evolve. Yet the peak remains, a dark, steady witness to our brief flashes of striving. Our lives too are seasons. Childhood, youth, age, each with its own climbs and descents. From the vantage point of eternity, our struggles are short but not insignificant. Each act of kindness, each breath taken in gratitude glows like a small campfire against the vast night. As you listen now, let the long arc of these stories curve gently around you. You have travelled in imagination from base camp to summit and back, from glaciers to villages, from loss to quiet gratitude. Feel how your own journey has slowed with each chapter, like a climber descending carefully to a safe valley filled with light. Notice the simple blessings of this moment, the softness beneath your body, the air that flows easily into your lungs, the shelter that holds you. You do not need to carry the whole range of your worries up the slopes of this night. You can leave some of them here, like excess gear left at a lower camp, to be sorted another day. Breathe in, gently, as if you were drawing cool, clear air from a mountain stream. Breathe out slowly, as if you were sending a small prayer of thanks into a starry sky. You are not lost in a storm. You are found in a circle of warmth. You are not hanging from a fragile anchor. You are resting on steady ground. Let your thoughts grow lighter, like spindrift blowing away from a high ridge. Let your heart grow softer, like snow settling after the wind has passed. For this stretch of the night, the only summit you're asked to reach is a deeper peace. Chapter 91. As dawn begins to imagine itself beyond the horizon, far from now but already on its way, the great mountains will still be standing. K2 will keep its watch in the Karakoram, shadowed and strong. Everest will greet the first light over the Himalayas. Annapurna, Nanga Parbat, Kangchenjunga, and all the 8,000ers will slowly trade stars for sun. But you need not greet that dawn yet. Your task is gentler, to drift toward a quieter inner place, where the winds have calmed and the snow lies smooth and undisturbed. The world's highest summits will continue their silent vigil while you sleep, reminding you that even as you close your eyes, you belong to a universe vast, mysterious, and filled with grace. Chapter 92. Somewhere right now, far from any glacier, a person lies awake feeling as if they are clinging to a narrow ledge inside their own mind. Bills, memories, worries, and what-ifs press in like cold wind on a ridge. They have never heard the hiss of a stove on K2, never tied into a rope, never walked on a crevasse-riddled glacier. Yet the effort it takes just to keep going, day after day, is its own steep climb. If a mountaineer could sit beside them, they might say, "Your summit is just as real as mine." Tonight, let yourself be counted among the quiet climbers of the heart, whose courage is to keep loving, keep hoping, even when the air feels thin. Chapter 93. High in the death zone, mistakes can be fatal. There is little space for error. But in the valleys of ordinary life, grace is wider. On K2, a misstep on ice may not be forgiven. Here, on the slopes of your own days, you are allowed to stumble and rise again and again. Imagine for a moment that the great mountains look down not with judgment, but with understanding. They have stood for ages watching generations learn, fail, grow, and soften. If they could speak, they might say, "Climb kindly within yourself. Forgive the times you turned back. Honor the times you tried. Tonight, let every breath be a small act of mercy toward your own tired spirit." Chapter 94. When climbers describe standing high on a ridge with the world falling away in all directions, they often reach for words like infinite, eternal, beyond. Up there, where the sky feels almost touchable and the earth curves softly at the edges, something inside them recognizes a deeper home, a belonging that is older than any passport or flag. Listening here, you can sense that same whisper, a quiet knowing that you are part of a story that began before your first breath and will continue after your last. The mountains with their snow and stone are just one chapter of that story. Another chapter is unfolding now in your resting body, in the gentle mystery of your sleeping soul. Chapter 95. If you could walk through all the base camps of the world in one long dreaming night, you would find the same fire in many different eyes. On the flanks of K2 in the shadow of Everest, beneath Annapurna's cold walls, people gather around small circles of light, headlamps, lanterns, stoves, telling stories, sharing fears, passing cups of tea from hand to hand. Languages differ, flags change, but the longing is the same, to touch something high and come back safely to love. In this way, the mountains reveal a quiet truth. Beneath all our differences, we are one camp, one circle, one fragile family huddled around the small warm flame of human life. Tonight, you rest within that circle, sheltered and seen. Chapter 96. If you could listen closely at the edge of sleep, you might hear a distant echo from the high ranges, a sound not of wind or ice, but of countless footsteps. Generations have walked toward these giants, porters with weathered hands, guides with careful eyes, first-time climbers carrying borrowed gear and trembling hope. On K2 and the other 8,000ers, their tracks overlap and fade, layered one upon another like rings in an ancient tree. Many of their names are never written in books, yet their efforts, their prayers, their quiet courage remain. In the same way, your life rests on footsteps you may never know, ancestors, mentors, strangers whose kindness helped carve a safe path for you to walk. Chapter 97. There is a gentle wisdom in knowing when not to go. Some seasons K2 is approached only to be watched from afar. Conditions are simply too unstable, forecasts too grim. Teams may trek all the way to base camp, set tents among the moraine, and then, after studying the sky and snow, decide to leave without stepping higher. To some, this might look like waste. But those who understand the mountain see another story, a deep bow before forces greater than ourselves. In your own life, there are dreams you may choose not to chase, paths you may decide are not meant for you. That too can be an act of reverence and quiet strength. Chapter 98. On clear nights in the Karakoram, when clouds drift away and the air turns sharp and still, K2's outline cuts into the stars like a dark, solemn blade. Climbers in their tents may unzip the door just a little, peering out at the silhouette of the peak against the glittering sky. In that view, time feels different. Centuries of snow and stone resting under constellations that have watched over every story on Earth. The worries of permits, equipment, and weather shrink for a moment into something small. What remains is awe, a soft recognition that we are visitors here, brief sparks of life passing beneath an ancient gaze. Tonight, the same stars that crown K2 also keep gentle watch over your sleep. Chapter 99. Far from the mountains, long after expeditions end, there are quiet rooms where photographs hang on walls, black and white portraits of early pioneers, colour images of prayer flags snapping in high winds, a framed shot of K2 at sunset, its slopes washed in rose and gold. People sit beneath these pictures, friends, family, even strangers, and feel their hearts stir. Some remember a person they loved who once walked there. Others feel only the tug of distant beauty, a reminder that somewhere in the world, storms rage above glaciers while they pour tea, fold laundry, or prepare for bed. In this way, the mountain becomes part of ordinary evenings, its fierce silhouette turned into a gentle invitation to cherish the simple, quiet heights of home. Chapter 100. Somewhere in the near future, a person who has never seen snow may hear the name K2 for the first time. Perhaps in a brief video, a passing conversation, a line in a song. A picture might catch their eye, a dark, beautiful pyramid of stone and ice reaching into a sky the colour of deep prayer. For a moment their imagination will lift, wondering what it would be like to stand so high, to breathe such thin, holy air. And then, gently, their thoughts will return to their own life, the people they love, the work they do, the quiet hopes they carry. They may never travel to the Karakoram, yet the mountain will have touched them, reminding them that even from far away, wonder can reach us, soften us, and turn our hearts toward gratitude. Now, our journey returns to you. You have walked in story through the death zone and back, watched storms roll over frozen ridges, felt the hush of base camps under star-filled skies. You have stood in imagination, beneath K2 and her brother peaks, seen how fragile and brave each human step can be. And yet, you remain here, in the soft cradle of your own room, in a warmth those climbers would cherish like treasure. Your summit tonight was never the sharp crest of a ridge. It was the gentle height of understanding, of tenderness toward your own weary soul. You have seen that survival is not only for those who clip into ropes and face avalanches, it is also for those who rise each morning to meet ordinary burdens, who love through fatigue, who keep hoping when the air of life feels thin. In that way, you are already a survivor, already a quiet climber of invisible mountains. As this story draws to a close, let your breathing slow even more. Feel your body heavier, safer, as if you have finally stepped off the glacier and into a small, welcoming lodge of light. Outside, far away, K2 stands in the moonlight. Cold, immense, indifferent, and yet strangely holy. Inside you are wrapped in warmth, watched over by a presence that is gentler than any mountain wind, older than any peak, closer than your own heartbeat. Thank you for walking this high, quiet path tonight. If this journey has brought a little peace to your spirit, you are gently invited, when you are awake and ready, to like this video, to subscribe, and to share which survival story you would love to dream through next. And when your heart seeks another ascent, another night of soft endurance and starlit summits, you may return and click the next story on your screen, continuing your peaceful path toward the heights. But for now, there is nowhere else you need to go. The world's highest mountains will keep their silent vigil without you. You have already climbed enough for today. May you feel the quiet gratitude of having made it this far. May you sense, beneath every breath, a love that does not depend on your success, your speed, or your strength. You do not have to conquer any summit to be worthy of rest. Even in your sleep, you have already walked far in the great journey of life. May peace guard your dreams until morning, and may grace be the first light to greet you when you wake. Good night.